confirm when that's done. Live stream has started.
Okay, and the recording?
The recording started.
And the recording started.
Okay, thank you. So I'll go first of all to the Deputy Clerk to outline what was discussed in the adjournment.
Thank you, Chair. During the adjournment, the board discussed the frustrations of the objector, the methods of reporting the incidents that are causing that frustration, the channels that should be taken, and what weight could be given to the applicant's submissions and the weight that could be given to the objector's submissions. No specific legal advice was asked for by myself, and the discussion was general around those issues. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, so I will now open the matter for members to debate. Just please, first of all, confirm that you've received sufficient evidence upon which to make a decision in respect of this matter.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm opening the debate if anybody wants to come in. No comments from members? Mr. Crowson, please.
Just going on the previous questions and answers that's been given, sort of thinking that we have to give weight to the evidence, or possibly the lack of evidence that we have, and that we're just here to discuss the hours being extended, which is being requested to, but seems to be our normal operating hours, and is the same for other premises within the area. I'm also wondering if there's any guidance that we can give for any future concerns over the operating in the business in the way of environmental health. I believe there's a noise app available that someone can use if they're concerned about noise levels, and that any incident should be reported to the appropriate departments, i.e. regarding fire escapes, maybe the fire service, and any other things, maybe the police. Just a general comment.
Okay, thank you. So we're dealing today with the issues in the variation, and some of the other issues raised that probably would be advisable for the objector to contact environmental health, fire brigade or police, depending on the type of complaint they want to make to get these investigated. But we need to deal with the variation application today. Mr. Goodall, please.
Just to say that I think we've thoroughly looked at all the evidence, and I can't see any reason for us to not grant this application. So that's my view at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Before we get to the determination, I think I'll go to the Deputy Clerk to go over the legal test.
Thank you, Chair. The legal test is essentially the grounds of refusal for the benefit of the parties, and there are 4 sections. That the application must be refused under section 32, 64 or 65 of the Act. I can advise that this is not relevant because the premises are not excluded premises. The second ground of refusal is that the Licensing Board considers that the granting of the application would otherwise be inconsistent with one or more of the licensing objectives. The third ground of refusal is that, having regard to the nature of the activities proposed to be carried on in the subject premises, the location, character and condition of the premises and the persons likely to frequent the premises, the board considers the premises are unsuitable for use for the sale of alcohol, but only in accordance with the proposed variation sought. Then the final ground of refusal is that if the board were to grant, it would result in over-provision of licensed premises, and I can advise that the board has no over-provision policy in relation to tariff, so that ground of refusal would not be relevant. So if the board are considering grounds of refusal, it's the second one in relation to the licensing objectives, and the third one in relation to the nature, location, character, etc., but only in accordance with the proposed variation that you would be taking into account today. If you find none of the grounds of refusal apply, you must grant the variation. If you find any of the grounds of refusal apply, you must refuse the application. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. So any other further comments from members? And you've already agreed that you've had sufficient evidence. So can I call for a motion?
Could I perhaps suggest,
sorry.
Chair, could I perhaps suggest that we do it in terms of each of the grounds of refusals first and make a finding in respect of those grounds of refusals, which should then lead you to the decision, and you may make motions and amendments in respect of each of the grounds of refusal, Chair, if that's appropriate.
Okay.
So in relation to the first ground of refusal, that the application must be refused, I've already advised the board that that doesn't apply. So are the board content to make a finding that that ground of refusal does not apply?
Yes, I would say so. Yeah.
So the second ground of refusal is that the licensing board considers that the granting of the application would otherwise be inconsistent with one or more of the licensing objectives. And if you make a finding in relation to this, I need to know which licensing objectives you're referring to and what evidence you're using to support that finding. So do you find that that ground applies or not?
Not.
I would suggest not, yes.
Yes.
So
No.
we've found that that does not apply. Then the third one is having regard to the nature of the activities proposed to be carried on in the subject premises, the location, character and condition of the premises and the persons likely to frequent the premises. The board considers that the premises are unsuitable for use for the sale of alcohol, but only in accordance with the proposed variations. And you find that ground of refusal applies in relation to activities, location, etc., and the evidence that you're using to base that on, or do you find that it doesn't apply?
I would suggest no.
Doesn't apply.
And then I've already advised the board that the over-provision ground of refusal does not apply. Do you agree with that advice?
Agreed.
Yes.
So therefore, board members, you have found that none of the grounds of refusal apply in this case. Therefore, the decision is clear in terms of the law that you must grant the application. Can I confirm that that is the decision that you have reached?
Agreed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
We don't need to propose that then as a motion.
No,
No.
you've agreed that unanimously.
Mr. Crowson has his hand up. Oh. No.
I was actually going to put a motion forward, but Fiona's
Okay.
covered it and I'm not
Yeah.
aware now. So.
So the decision of the board today, for the benefit of the applicant and the objector's representative, is that none of the grounds of refusal have been found to apply, and therefore the board must grant the licence. So the licence, the application for variation, I beg your pardon, is granted. You will receive written notice of the decision within the next 7 days, and you do have the right to consider an appeal, but you would need to take independent legal advice in relation to that, and I would thank you for coming to the board today. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Just before the applicant and the objector disappear, just there will be advice given for the objector in terms of the other issues that were raised. So we can confirm that. But thank you both for attending today. I would propose a short break of maybe 10 minutes before we go on to item 7. So 11:40.
I'll
Short
just
comfort break, and we'll
Is that-
stop the recording and
Yeah.
the live stream.